Hello again, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to see a walkthrough of BJU Press Reading Level 2 or Grade 2. This is the second edition. There is a third edition out, and there is actually a different printing of the second edition too, so it's kind of confusing, but I always try and get the BJU Press books that go along with the current distance learning videos, so that if I decide to add on the videos, my books match with the distance learning material. So we are not using distance learning for Reading 2. I am doing parent-led, and it's working very well. But just in case things change, you know, it's a long school year, and I like to have that option available to me. So I usually stick with the versions that are currently used in distance learning. I'm going to pull away these parts and go through them one at a time, but you have 2 student work texts that I just pulled away. You'll actually have 2 teachers editions and then the work text, and that is a little different for the third edition. They've actually broken it down to 4 books for the student readers, and they're softback, and the ones I have are hardback. So this is level 2, like I said, Reading 2, and this is actually part A. There are 2 of these teacher's editions, so this only represents half the course. It's pretty big, but all BJU Press manuals are this way. There's just a ton of information, a ton of resources for you, but that's okay. This is built to be more than you need. This isn't meant to be everything that you possibly need in one setting with your child. This is built for a classroom, and it addresses all different types of learners. So I just want to show you some things here in the front. I'm just going to flip through it so you can kind of see. This is pretty much the same in the new edition as well. One thing I really liked that they had here was some reading assessment and things like that. Suggested schedule tells you what you're working on. So this is pretty standard across all BJU Press programs. They give you a ton of scheduling information. I wanted to show you here. They do have a reading assessment or reading inventory. I thought about having my son do this, but we ended up not doing it, and that's okay. I feel like this is going to be a good fit for us, and we were going to take the assessment, but we ended up not doing it. So this is where the lessons start. Okay, I'm going to show you in the student text where you'll be able to see a little more clearly how the reading level starts out in book A, and then I will show you book B to kind of see where you will end up by the end of the year. So this is the basic layout of a lesson. For this story, it covers lessons 1 and 2. I don't know if you can see that there. I'm just going to tell you how we use this. Obviously, I've said this many times before, there's a ton of different things you can do using the BJU Press manuals because they just put so much in there. But I'm just going to tell you what we do. So I will open this up, and this shows me exactly what my son sees in his reader. So I just have this on my lap on the couch. He has his reader, and what I will do is I will introduce what are called the new service words. These are words that don't always follow basic phonic rules, and we make splash cards, not flashcards, but splash cards. If you are familiar with BJU Press phonics and reading, then you know back in kindergarten they played a splash game with their service words, and we've just continued that in 1st grade and 2nd grade, and it has just been so much fun. He loves doing his splash cards. So we will add these words each lesson to that pile of cards and go through them. And then we just go right into the lesson. Now I started out the year doing the lesson just as written. So the lesson, actually, this is kind of an introduction to the lesson. This is actually where the lesson starts, lesson 1. Okay, I did it as written. I would have him do silent reading, as it says here, and then I would ask him some of these questions. Maybe I'd pick 1 or 2, but then I would try and pick, like if it said, literal and interpretive, I would try and pick at least one out of each kind of category, or appreciative or critical thinking. I would try and pick one out of each category, and I would just go through this lesson doing, what it said, and then we come over here and I do the work text pages that it said, and I would just do this as written. There are certain points in these little directions where it says, have your child read aloud, such and such a section. So I would hear him read out loud, and we would cover that. But the most time of the lesson was him doing the silent reading. Well, I want to say probably about lesson 15 to 20, somewhere in there. He just did not want to do the silent reading anymore. So we just stopped. And now he reads the whole lesson to me out loud, and we do these questions, and then we're done. We still do the work text page too, but I usually do it verbally. I'm not a big worksheet person, so we usually just do those verbally. I wanted to show you a sample of the skill stations. They every so often will have kind of basic language arts and phonics kind of skill refreshers. And like today we talked about compound words and syllables today. And it's in the work text page, it's in the work text in the back, and I'll show you when we get to it. And again, the teacher's manual shows a smaller version of that, so you can follow along with your child. But these lessons are just kind of refreshing to my son, because it kind of gives him a break from reading, but we're still practicing his reading skills. So I at first I wasn't sure we were going to do them, but they actually have ended up being a little bright spot when they pop up. My son enjoys them, so we will definitely keep those in. So I mentioned that we were just doing reading out loud. What I had told my son is that we would start, or we would just read out loud through Christmas, and then after Christmas maybe we'd go back to him doing some silent reading. I just thought perhaps maybe he wasn't ready to do that yet, so we're going to give it till Christmas with him just reading out loud to me for our lesson time. And then if he wants to do silent reading in his pile of fun books, that's fine. But for reading time, it was really causing tears and frustration, and I didn't get it because he begged to go back to Bob Jones. He loves the books, and I'll show you here why in a minute, but I wasn't sure what was going on. Like, why was he so upset about reading time? He picked it as one of his favorite things in first grade, and so I thought, we're going back to Bob Jones. I gotta, bring back the love of reading. And he still was just having trouble, and finally I got him to tell me it's because he didn't like silent reading. He just wanted to read it out loud to me. So I know that's a skill we have to develop, but we have some time, so we're just going to give it till Christmas and let him continue reading to me, and then we'll try again with silent reading. So I'm just going to show you what it is my son loves about these books. These ones here, like I said, are hardback, but the new editions are not. They're softback. Look at how beautiful these books are. I mean, they're so pretty. This is the first book, okay, so this is what they'll start off grade 2 with. This is about how many words you have per page. The font is still a little bigger, but look at the beautiful pictures on every single page. And this is what my son wanted. He still very much needs pictures. If you watched my other videos about our read aloud troubles, he has to have pictures. I'm looking to see, we've read this one. Or have we read this one? No, I think we're partway through this one. Katie Kangaroo. I think we're partway through this one. Okay, so this is the lesson we're on now, and then I'll just show you where it ends up. So it's still lots of pictures. I don't really think the words per page really add up a whole lot in the first book, but it does. Okay, see here, we're getting our first full text page. It does change in the second book. I'll show you that one. So this is where you'd be kind of like mid-year. Okay, you'd start here. Look at these pages. Look at this book. It's so pretty. Because this is still their distance learning material for this course, you can still buy this edition at BJU Press. Now see here, we're starting to see some more full text pages with either very little illustrations or none at all. So it does kind of ramp up, and I'll go here to the end and show you where you end up with the course. So this is where second grade will end up. Notice I don't really think the font size changed much. They just ended up, you know, going to full text pages a couple times, but they really didn't change the font size too much, which I like. They do have a glossary in the back of each book. You can use these for the vocabulary review each lesson if you want. There is a little section, I don't think I showed that to you, but there is a section here when you start a lesson. In addition to the service words, it has a section of vocabulary right here that you can go over. And if you don't know, you know, if your child says, I don't know what that word means, and they want to look it up themselves, there are glossaries in the back of the book. You don't have to have a separate dictionary for that. So I thought that was nice. And then I'll just show you the work text real quick. We do this orally. Like I said, we don't add another, you know, writing worksheet in for this. This is, I want to say this is about $30 at BJU Press. So for each lesson, the front page, or at least one side, is comprehension about the story itself, and then the back is some sort of phonics review, or maybe like working on syllables or compound words or some other language arts skill. But that's how the work text page is set up. So it's one sheet front and back each day, and one side is phonics, and one side is comprehension. So there is some writing in here. If you also use BJU Press English too, you might find that it might be a little bit much for some kids who kind of are struggling with writing. I actually noted that one day we had 2 like journal entry things, plus a spelling test, plus what was the other thing we had? I think it was something in history, like story writing or something in history. And we don't use BJU Press across the board, but I just kind of thought, wow, if we were doing all of these assignments, that would be a lot of writing in one day. So you do kind of have to keep your eye on that, because there is writing in here as well. I'm going to flip to the back. These are those skill station sections I was telling you about. So there are about almost 100 pages of skill stations, and you do about 2 to 3 of pages per skill station. So well, let me see. It actually says at the bottom there. Oh, it doesn't say how many. Okay. I don't know. So I don't know how many skill stations there are. I would say between 40 and 50 skill stations. So 40 to 50 days out of your year is going to be kind of doing a little review of some either language arts skills, or maybe a different type of skill associated to reading, like story sequencing, assigning a title, finding the main idea, things like that. So other types of skill related to reading comprehension. And those are all in the student work text, and they are assigned in the teacher manual. So that is the BJU Press Reading 2 second edition. There is, like I said, another edition out, so it is different. It actually looks completely different, and it is set up different. But this one corresponds with the current videos on the distance learning program, so this is what I went with. If you have any questions, please let me know. And also please check out my other BJU Press videos coming up soon about how to shorten your day with distance learning or parent-led, no matter which one you're using. I have found a couple ways to shorten my day, because these lessons, you know, when you see all that's written here, if you do everything, it can really stretch out your day. So I've just come up with a few things to shorten the day, and I've also discovered some money saving tips. I did do a video about that already, so make sure you check that out some things I discovered, especially with language, arts, and math in BJU Press that are really going to help me save some money. So please check that out and let me know if you have any questions. Take care.